Hi gang, Rob here. It is the evening of 22 April 2016 and I've got a From the Sharpening Bench video for you all tonight, and this one is going to be, believe it or not, on a Steelcraft series knife from Todd Begg. Those of you who keep up with this stuff will know that the Steelcraft series is the production wing of Todd Begg knives. Not a Todd Begg custom, but a production version of a Todd Begg custom. And Todd Begg, great American custom knife maker, has decided to have his Steelcraft series produced and manufactured in China by Reate Knives and David Deng, to be specific. And if you'd like to get Mr. Begg's perspective on this alliance, I suggest that you go to Derek Bones' YouTube channel and look up his sort of interview or introductory video with Todd Begg. Todd goes into detail about how he chose David and Reate Knives and the reasons that was a good idea and some of the difficulties in that relationship. So I bet you guys are tired of looking at this rather attractive black box with ruby red embossed logo. So let's open it. It's one of these magnetic flap boxes a la Anthony Marfione. Whoops, oh, he didn't flip it back far enough. Okay, in the box we've got a Todd Begg Knives sticker. We have one of these QR code looking things that's a registration card with a serial number on it. Got a little literature. Todd congratulating you on your purchase of a Begg Steelcraft series. Blah, blah, blah. And we have a nice closed cell foam custom milled pocket. Great box. And here's the knife. What we're looking at here, guys, is the Steelcraft Mini Bodega. Oh, look at that striking little number. This is a 3-inch bladed, 4-inch handled, 7-inch overall length version of Todd Begg's custom Bodega. And it is stunning for a little knife, I gotta say. Let's just kind of go over the particulars. That 3-inch blade looks to be made out of 1/8-inch stock of S35 VN. Crucible powdered metal stainless steel. The handle is 6AL4V titanium, and the finish, well, there are several of them. The black that you see appears to be a something like Kershaw's blackwash or ZT's blackwash finish. Some kind of a DLC or PVD coating that's been stonewashed after coating to give it a shimmering reveal of the stonewash. And by the way, guys, just an aside, but an important one. If you like this sort of blackish stonewashed finish, this is what to buy. I strongly caution you against buying an acid stonewashed blade, because when you sharpen it and strop it, it's going to become a blotchy mess that's shiny, and the acid powdery residue comes off, and then you're left with this blotchy, nasty mess. This is a much better way to go. You get much better consistency and durability. And let's move on. Notice the flats are satin, and they are longitudinal satin. And notice how the corners of the grinds are revealed in that stonewashing process. It gives the knife great lines. Of course, we have our signature Todd Begg Fuller with holes in it. Swedge and harpoon. What would you call that? Sort of a bayonet grind or a spear harpoon. Great jimping on the spine. And it runs way out front to make use of this generous finger choil. What? If you guys are watching this video because you own one of these, you know that's not true. And when you look at my index finger dropped into that finger choil, you're going, wait a minute, something's not right here. Yeah, that'll bring us to the first sort of negative to this knife. This finger choil, as modified by the TheApostleP knife service. It accommodates a full-size man's index finger, and the plunge grind finishes before the cutting edge starts. I'm going to show you some pictures now, and the first one I'm going to show you is my index finger attempting to engage the finger choil in the knife as manufactured. Take a look. Yeah, that wasn't quite the same as this. And now I'm going to show you the before picture. You saw that black mark in front of my index finger. Now I'm going to show you the choil with no index finger in. I'll show you how far over the cutting edge my finger actually came. Remember where that mark was. Now here's the blade with the finger out but the black mark intact. Okay, so you see how much material had to be removed to get to this. So my hand can come forward. I can make use of all this jimping. I can get some nice dead over the spine power cutting as the Bodega was designed. And as we go over this knife, let me just say this. You guys know where I stand on Chinese manufacture of collectible folding knives. You know that I've only ever reviewed one Chinese, not counting the Tenacious. There's been one sort of modern Chinese knife that I've reviewed, and it was a Kaiser. You know, I did a knife rant on Chinese knives. Don't feed the monster. I sharpen a lot of Kaisers, and I sharpen a lot of Reates, and I sharpen a lot of custom knife factory knives, which are made in China, by the way. And you never see them on the channel. I do that intentionally. I don't like them. I don't like them. I don't like them. I was texting back and forth with a guy who saw this knife on my Instagram page, and he was talking about how much it cost, and I said to him at one point, I'll never pay over $30 for a knife that's made in China. And I probably never will. So my biases notwithstanding, we're going to give this knife an honest look. And the first thing I'm going to complain about is that choil. And right off the bat, let me say, that's not the manufacturer's fault. That's Todd Begg's fault. If the Bodega and the mini Bodega have an issue, it's in here. The full-size Bodega has a full-size choil, but the plunge grind extends about out to here, and you have a 1/4 inch of blade with a rapidly widening edge bevel and a big dull spot right here. And because there are no mistakes ever made by knife makers, there are merely design changes. And by the way, you can always tell when a design change or a design feature is real and when it is a mistake, and you can tell by the credibility of the explanation by the knife maker. Todd says that the reason Bodegas have this big dull patch right here isn't because he didn't know how to coordinate his plunge grind and his finger choil and his cutting edge. He says it's for safety. So if you would place your finger over the cutting edge, it won't cut you. Okay, well, let's say we tried to believe that. And then let's look at a mini Bodega. Did you remember the picture? Now the mini Bodega didn't have a big dull patch right back here. It had ugly but sharp cutting edge, that my normal adult-sized fingers overlapped a 1/4 inch onto. I guess safety's no longer a concern for Mr. Begg. What happened is this, guys. He scaled down the full-size Bodega to give it a 3-inch blade and a 4-inch handle, and he scaled it all down, including the finger choil, so that at 75% of its original size, 25% of the finger laid over the cutting edge. Major fail on a knife that costs $445 and it's made in China. Yeah, $445 and it's made in China. And yeah, okay, well, let's get past that because I'm ranting. While we're still on the blade, major notation. This blade is saber ground, meaning from where the primary bevel or the face of the blade bevel starts to the cutting edge is flat, not hollow. And frankly, I never liked the hollow grind on really any Bodegas. The hollow grind did not ever, I think, work and play well with the shape of this blade. And they were sort of all different. Every one I've ever looked at's been different. But they all had one thing in common to varying degrees. There would be a thick section of edge down here. It would get thinner and thinner and thinner where the hollow grind apogee, if you will, the thinnest part of the hollow grind came out the end of the blade. So the thinnest part of the blade would be right here in the belly, which gets a lot of work, which I think is kind of silly. And then it would thicken dramatically at the tip. So as you sharpen the knife, you get big, broad bevel back here, little tiny skinny bevel here, big, broad bevel here. Sort of like if you guys have any 3/4 grind Strider SNGs, you know how that geometry doesn't work. Bodegas are the same. But look at this, my friends. Check out the width of that cutting edge. Bevel front to back. I don't know if this is David's programming or Todd's programming, but the flat grind, the distal taper, and the belly all work perfectly together to give us nice consistent thickness behind the edge. Hilt to tip. Well done, guys. And I love the reveal of that satin, these flats, how it sort of swoops in. Just gorgeous. Beautifully done. Nice blade. Really nice blade. The flipping action as we work our way back is superb. For a tiny light knife, it only weighs 3.7 ounces, and there's not much heft or mass in that blade. The detent is perfection. It's strong, and it aids in the fast flip, but you're not going to kill yourself breaking the detent. It's just right. The detent ball in this knife is ceramic, and the IKBS system of teeny tiny ball bearings, also made out of ceramic, as you can see there. The knife is just really smooth and quiet. Flips great, locks up like a bank vault. I'd like to see that a little later, but I think the geometry of our blade tang slope is nice and gradual, so it shouldn't be prone to slipping off. It's solid as a rock. This is a steel inserted titanium lock bar, and worth noting. Let's see if I can get you in here. Okay, I think you can see the steel insert looking down into this area of the knife. Yeah, there you go. And it's screwed from the inside. So the screw heads you're looking at now. And I want you to take a look. Look, these two shiny and domed well finished nubs that you see are the bottom of the screws. How's that, guys, for attention to detail? Those are turned to a perfect radius, and they fit almost flush. They're just gorgeous. I mean, who thinks of making that an actual design feature of the knife? That's great. And I want you to sort of pick up the finishes on this knife. So we have this sort of black wash DLC, satin flats. We come over to the spine. We've got satin on the spine. The recesses of the jimping, black wash. And then we've got a polish on the peaks of the jimping. And then we finish the tang in satin. The titanium it's almost to a polish in the lock bar cutout and in the fuller and the lock bar, which is sort of a mirror image emulation of the fuller and the blade. So the handle is black washed, and then the bright surfaces are brought about by more tooling. We've got this gorgeous bright milled groove that goes around the sort of honeycomb texturing. The back spacer is cracked ice and then checkered. The cracked ice finish rolls around the ends of the back spacer, and then it's inside the blade well. And then the cracked ice finish on the pocket clip with the Todd Begg signature ceramic ball retention for the clip. Notice this too. The posts or the bosses for the pocket clip are integral to the titanium frame. How thick was that chunk of titanium before machining? And I believe the back spacer is integral to the frame side as well. It's very hard to tell. I've read that on a forum, and I did not disassemble this knife. So it is a beauty. Let's look at ergonomics, shall we? Before we get to ergos, I just want to say one more thing about the blade. I'm not generally a fan of spear points with a very low beginning to the primary bevel, because it ends up kind of wedgy. But frankly, this is less wedgy than, say, a Benchmade 940. So for an EDC class knife, it's still a pretty darn good slicer. Let's take a look at a piece of Natchez Shooter Supply catalog paper. It works well. If I get the blade straight, it's nice and quiet going through. You know, is it a little overly stylized blade to be a real utility blade? Probably. Is it a great compromise between pocket man jewelry and an effective tool? I think it is. You know what I didn't test? I didn't test the clip. Talk amongst yourselves. We're going in pocket now. So pocket clip, awfully good. Now ergos. In the forward grip, amazing as modified. Can't do this without modifying it unless you want to cut your finger. How about the overhand pinch grip? Not bad. Knife is a little pokey. A little pokey on the pinky in that grip. I wouldn't say it's not good in that grip. Hammer grip is horrendous. The curvature of the handle forces the knife. It forces the flipper tab right into the knuckle of the index finger in a painful way. You'll not be doing that. Saber grip, not using the forward choil. If you try to get 4 fingers on the knife, again, you're forcing the flipper tab into the index finger. If you try to back up and get 3 on it, you're not comfortable at all. Let me use the right hand here. No. In the draw cut grip, that might be the most comfortable grip for the knife. And that's this ergonomically, the scaling down of the Bodega, basically a complete fail. You can't just click a drop down menu and reduce to 75% like a copier with a folding knife and call it good. The handle doesn't fit the hand well at all, unless you use the forward choil, which isn't there from the factory. In all other grips, it's pretty bad. Not nearly as good as a full-size Bodega. Should have changed the shape of the handle, straightened it out a little bit, to give the hand a little more freedom to find its home on the handle, and it's not good. So here's kind of what I would say about this. It's ironic. And here's the irony. The Todd Begg part of this knife, the revered and vaunted American knife maker and designer parts of the knife, are not well thought out. The scaling of the full-size Bodega to the Mini is done poorly. The aesthetic design features that you came to love on custom Bodegas are faithfully carried out. It is a production knife, and that sort of sub chassis that housed the lock bar on a regular full-size Bodega, custom Bodega, not here. Were they gimmicky anyway? Yeah. Do I miss them? No. Does the knife have the striking good looks that a Bodega should have? Yeah, it sure does. But to continue that thought, the mistakes on the knife aren't made by the Chinese manufacturer. The mistakes on the knife are made by the American designer, the inventor of the Bodega. And they're kind of glaring mistakes, I think. I don't know who, whether it was Todd or David, who went away from the Bodega hollow grind and went flat. But whoever did that, bravo, because it gives us much better geometry at the cutting edge. Bottom line, I wouldn't pay $445 for this knife for 2 reasons. As a knife, as a tool, its ergonomics are not good enough for me to want it. Probably not even for $195. And the second reason is I'll never pay more than $30 for a knife made in China. Having said that, David, Mr. Deng of Reate Knives, great job. Great job. That's all I have for this one, my friends. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the word in this here mini Bodega are sharp.